Hello, everyone, and warm welcome to the Matchbook Cheltenham Festival preview. It is time. We, that is Micheál, Deasy, Sam Turner, and I, are going to go through the Cheltenham Festival. We're aiming for under an hour. Who knows? It's possible. It's a little unlikely. We'll see how we go. The way we're going to approach it, before I say hello to the other guys, 3 grade ones a day that we've highlighted, plus any other bets, and they're going to include potentially, as far as the first day goes, another grade one on the first day. What a first day that is. Also the handicap bets as well, and anything else that me or the guys think is of note. If there is any race we don't have a strong opinion in, we shall rattle through, because it is a betting podcast and we don't want fluff. We want some bets for you. So that is what we've prepared. Micheál, Deasy, it's nearly time, and thank you for sitting in on that Cobra meeting today in London, where you were just that little voice saying, let it go ahead, lads. Let it go ahead, because I think we're all right.
Yeah, I was slipping fivers and tenors to Bartlett there under the table. Just, well, it's all right, but it's all right. But yeah, delighted it's going well. It's going ahead at the moment. You know, I think these things can change, but I think there's just too much money and tax and everything to go in with this for it to be cancelled just because a few people might get the flu over it or coronavirus or whatever.
Well, yes.
It's a bit more than the flu, isn't it? But there we go. Tom is
a hot take there now straight away.
Tom is a Tottenham fan as well. You don't need to be too presumptuous about, expecting things to happen, and when you sort of get ahead of the game, just guaranteeing that everything's going to be sweetness and light. But fingers crossed, with Cheltenham only being a week away, the pandemic might kick in afterwards, and we might be all right. We might at least get some racing before the end of days.
These Wolves fans are worse than Liverpool fans. They're unbelievable. They've just got. It's only been 48 hours.
Good,
anyway, we are looking forward to the Cheltenham Festival, and we are going to start with the Supreme Novices Hurdle. As I've said, we're not about fluff, we're about bets, and that is what we've got coming your way over the next hour or so. So as far as the Supreme Novices Hurdle goes, we know that Shishkin heads the betting. He really has done since he won his second start over hurdles, and since Nicky Henderson said to owners, we had it first. He's coming here, and you can do what you want with the Styrian Phalange, but this is where Shishkin is going. So he is going to run in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. I think I've made my feelings clear on him as a profile bet for the race. I think he's the wrong horse at the top of the betting, and he's to be taken on. And you may have heard mine and Micheál Deasy's thoughts on the race. So, Sam, if you can kick off with this, where are you on the likes of the first 3 or 4 in the betting, the likes of Shishkin, the likes of Abacadabras, the likes of Fiddler on the Roof? What do you think Supreme, Sam?
I think it's a terrific race. If you're saying to me, would I back Shishkin at sort of 3.25 or 3.5 now? No, I wouldn't. But he does remind me, and these are probably brave words that are going to come back and bite me on the proverbial, but he reminds me a bit of Altior in that he's got 3 or 4 gears that carry him into a race. And then we just saw at Newbury just how he lengthened in the last 100, 150 yards and just put good distance between himself and the runner-up that day. I just really like the way that he extended. And he just strikes me a little bit exactly like Altior, except he travels probably a little bit sweeter on the bridle for longer. Doesn't lack pace, stays well. The only question mark for me about his chance really, hasn't done it at graded level yet, but hasn't had the opportunity. But he looks well up to a graded winner, that class anyway. And secondly, the undulations of Cheltenham. Those are the only 2 sort of little issues in the back of my mind. But look, he's had a really good preparation by that fall first time up, but at least that taught him a little bit. He jumped a lot cleaner last time and at Newbury on his penultimate start. And I actually believe he's the right favourite. I think he'd be very interesting if Envoy Allen turned up here and he ran against him, because I just think he's perhaps got a touch more natural pace than him. I think he's the one really strong class horse in the race. I'm fearful about Abacadabra. I think he's got a lot of pace. He travels very well in his races, and obviously he's that Envoy Allen form from a couple of starts ago. But I think Shishkin's the real deal.
Deesh, you made the Shishkin Altior comparison in the mini preview we did.
I did. I was delighted to hear Sam saying that. And Sam, you haven't been watching those videos.
Oh yeah, I have them on repeat.
Yeah, no, I as Sam said there, I think he's very slick over his hurdles. He's great pace. The only thing that will put me off backing him is that he's the favourite in the Supreme Novice, and he's 3.5. but I think he's a very good favourite. I don't like Abracadabras because I don't think he's a good jumper. I think that he'll hit a few on the way around or miss a few, but he's a fantastic engine. And yeah, but this is a brilliant race. This is a very hard race to pick a horse. Very, very hard.
So because I disagree, I came into the where we are now at the festival thinking that Carefully Selected was the take-on favourite at the festival, but given that nothing seems to be running in that race, I think Shishkin's the take-on job of the festival just on his profile. If you look at the history of the Supreme, you want experience to win the race. I'm not saying that he's not the best horse in the race, but as favourite, I want to be against him purely on experience grounds. He's had 2 completed starts over hurdles, and his first go over hurdles, I mean, what did we learn? He made it a quarter of the way around, if that. If you go back to even the likes of when Willie Mullins was 3 or 4 years ago winning these smaller field, the 12-runner race Supreme Novices hurdles with the likes of Duvan and the likes of Vatour, they'd still come over from France and had 2 goes over hurdles. They still ticked the experience box. He sent out Min off the back of just 2 goes over hurdles. He couldn't get the job done. I know he bumped into Altior, and you make that Altior comparison. He'd had 5 starts over hurdles. He'd had that bellow. He was battle hardened, and I know what you mean race style wise. I just purely on the nature of this being the Supreme, the Raw, the first race of the festival, everything that goes through the horses and the jockeys' minds as they line up. I think it counts for a bundle for the first race of the festival. And I just, on that experience ground, I really want to be against him, against the likes of Fiddler on the Roof and the likes of Abracadabras. I think those are well worth having in support against him.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but he has been in 2 points, Tom, hasn't he? I mean, he won his 1 point by 6 or 8 lengths. He didn't win his debut point, but at least he has got a bit more jumping experience. He's probably been away to Kempton as well, done a little piece of work there, you would imagine, with that group that Nicky took away. So I don't think he'd be lacking for, a little bit of schooling in between as well. So I understand your concerns, but I think he's got the class to overcome those problems. I think if it was probably the 4th, 5th race of the day rather than the Supreme, everyone would probably think, yeah, that Shishkin's a fair bet. But because it's the first race of the day, everybody seems to put so much store in it. Punters want to lay it, punters want to back it, they want to get off to a good start either way. So he's the divisive horse in some respects, but I do think he's got a lot of quality, and I certainly wouldn't be laying him at 9-4, 5-2 myself.
So as far as a bet goes in the race, from what you're saying, Sam, you don't necessarily want to be out and out against him, but it doesn't sound like you're going to steam in at the current prices. Is there a horse in there that you want on side at the moment?
Well, him, the one I think who has got a bit of X factor about him. I like Fiddle on the Roof. Obviously, he's a really tough, genuine, progressive horse. I certainly wouldn't be looking to take him on either. But I think Chantry House could be the sort of the semi-quiet one in the race in some respects. I was really hoping that Sporting John was going to run in this race because he was just the type of horse. He'd been doing good figures at Exeter, but they're obviously keen to go to the Ballymore with him, and just spending a bit of time with Nicky Henderson on Sunday morning, not in that way, just on the Luck on Sunday show. It just, the intimation was that he still thinks a fair bit of Chantry House, and he hasn't really come off the bridle to do what he's done this year. And he's another one that doesn't lack pace. I could see him travelling up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nicky had a couple in the frame here from just a couple of darts.
Dees, what about you for the Supreme? Have you got a stone cold bet at this stage?
No, mine would be very ground dependent. If it came up heavy, which I think it could be soft heavy, I would be with Fiddler on the Roof. I think that he'd probably enjoy those conditions the most out of everyone. I've Sporting John backed Antipos, so my heart is breaking every day when I see his price go down for the Ballymore and the Supreme. But I would definitely be waiting until the day, and if it's heavy, I'd be with Fiddler on the Roof, and if it's not heavy, I would probably have a small bet on Shishkin or a mug bet favourite the Supreme.
I think we should probably have discussed that at the top. If only I knew what I was doing. Ground for Cheltenham. Are you personally? I'm just going on soft all over. I wouldn't be confident enough to say it's going to have good in the description, but nor would I be confident enough to be working off heavy at this stage. So I'm just going on soft all over. Sam?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption, Tom. I think we've got a few more showers. It's going to be a bit drier, and perhaps the storm that was forecast last week, another one for the weekend. They only come out at weekends, these storms, don't they? They don't work Monday to Friday. So this storm thankfully, as sort of the threat of that has dissipated a little bit this weekend. But one thing Nicky Henderson did say is he said Cheltenham could do with a haircut. Unlike me and Dees, he said the grass was quite long, so that will have retained quite a lot of moisture, you'd imagine. And so you would think that, once that's trimmed off, that has still retained the water level, which we've seen. I mean, such ridiculous levels of water in the last 2 to 3 months. So I think genuine soft, even if we have a dry week, I still think it's going to ride pretty testing. Yeah,
we could do with a few more freelancer storms that make an appearance during the week.
Yeah. The ones who are the coalface grafting away, rather than these weekend lads who just turn up on a Friday night.
Easy life. Agreed. For me, this Supremes, Abacadabras, and certainly at the prices, Fiddler on the Roof. If you can be looking at around about 7-8.0, I'd be very keen. So those two for me, and yeah, mainly Fiddler on the Roof against the Fav. Anything else to say Supreme wise? Conscious that if we keep going like this, we're about an hour and a half for the preview. But anything else to say?
It's just the first day, isn't it?
Exactly, that's day one.
Yeah.
Happy?
Done.
I'll go, Jet.
Good stuff. Right, kick on. Arkle wise, unless I've got anything as far as let me just check the live comments, chaps, as they're coming in. No, we're okay, Supreme wise. We've got a lot more coming out day one. Right, Arkle. I'm a fence sitter, Arkle, so I'm not the right person to lead this off as things stand at the moment. Notebook for me is the right favourite. I don't want to be against. I'm conscious he can play up. I remember him in the Ballymore last year acting like a nut job, but he has so far proved that he's probably got the mentality to deal with the festival. So I'm not with or against necessarily.
Well, apart from bolting to the start in the Dublin Racing Festival, he's been pretty calm and relaxed. Yeah. It is a shame if his temperament does get the better of him, because I think this is a beast of a horse, and he's probably so big, robust and powerful that he just bullies his way into doing anything in life, to be honest. I think he's an exceptional horse. He's an exceptional jumper, and I think he's just playing around at the moment. I thought he dossed when he hit the front when he beat Cashback at the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought he beat Fakir Dudery with a little bit in hand as well when they charged around Leopardstown. I just think he's a fabulous horse. I just hope between the ears that he just manages to keep that in check, and we see the proper Notebook next week.
Dees, where are you with Notebook?
Again, I said this in the Twitter previews we did, but I would be concerned about if it comes up heavy ground. I'm going for heavy ground. I think it will be heavy ground. I think last year they said it was soft, but if you actually watch the Supreme last year, the only horse you can see is Classical Dream, because he's out in the front, not getting muck kicked back onto him. I can see it being big on the heavy side. So most of my horses are going to be heavy horses, especially on day one. And I would be nervous about Notebook on genuinely heavy ground because he's never running it. I think Fakir Dudari, if it did come up heavy, I think he has a good chance of turning the tables, because he has a bit of Cheltenham form on the first day last year. Not a great price now at the moment though. He's about 5.0. Like that wouldn't be really interesting to me. But I think that I think it's between the two of them. I don't think any of the English horses, just looking down from here now, I don't think any of them will get near Notebook or Fakir Dudery.
Okay, so right, I'm going to throw something at Sam first of all, because there was a Wolves fan at the start of the season who said Fakir Dudery, Arkle, and I hopped on, and we are the silver bearded man that guy is. I've got to be honest. At level weight, I cannot see how that horse reverses the form with Notebook. I can't hand on heart the current prices see it. But there is a little part of me that says, right, look at 2 mile Novice Chase division now, compare where they are now to their novice hurdle form when they were rated in the mid 130s. Is there a chance that these Novice Chase who have been Notebook's been beating them all up over in Ireland, maybe they're not that good? Maybe a horse like Global Citizen, although I think he wants decent ground, who is a 150 plus rated hurdler and chaser, actually should be shorter. Maybe a Spirit du Large, who's a proven grade 1 winner, shouldn't be a 50.0 shot against horses who weren't that good over hurdles, and actually maybe it's a full storm over fences and they're not as good as we actually think they are. Where are we on that?
Well, a lot of the British trainers don't think the Irish form's any good, and I think one or two of the Irish trainers don't think the British horses have beaten anything. I'm with Deasy. I think Fakir Dudery does need it proper soft, probably verging on, soft to heavy. And I think that's his main chance of turning the form around with Notebook. I think we agree there, certainly. He's a horse that just travels and jumps, even though he's probably not got the scope and the size of Notebook. He just seems to travel through heavy ground much easier than a lot of other horses. He skips through it. So my only concern is that they might not feel that the ground is soft enough, and he might get rerouted to the 2.5 mile race, which would be a right shame for those of us who've backed him anti-post. But they've got to do the best thing by the horse and identify the best chance of winning, and that is the one nagging doubt I've got in the back of my mind, that it's the first race out on the over the chase fences. They haven't had the opportunity to evaluate the ground or evaluate the times from previous races. So he is the kind of horse that they'll make probably an early decision with once Joseph's perhaps walked the track on the Sunday, before they have to declare for Tuesday. So just hold fire if you are going to back Fakir Dudery. Just make sure that he's in the lineup. But I do think that he can.
Did he go?
Gosh.
He
seems to be. He was making
coming back.
So you just cut me off when I was talking about Fakir Dudery. This boring Wolves fan is back to anti-post. So just cut him.
Going up in trip. No, go on, Sam. You were saying
yeah. So briefly, just to summarise, then I think he is going to want it pretty soft, and that's the only concern. I think he's going to go away and do a little bit of schooling. I think tomorrow, funny enough, I think they're going to go and have a little pop round one of the local venues. And so hopefully he'll come out of that okay. All I can do is reiterate that Mark Walsh absolutely loves him, and I'll be very interested in whichever race he goes into. And I think he'd probably, if he ran in this race, be ridden a little bit more aggressively than he was at Leopardstown when he was put in his place by Notebook.
Yeah, there's a couple of lads that are coming. Stephen's 99, one of them that says Fakir's too slow last year. What's different this year? I mean, I think there are a lot of the Irish last year who are over fences now who didn't prove themselves. Notebook and Fakir would fit into that. They didn't look good enough at the festival last year. But the chasing game is very different. I'm still the old school Arkle fan. If you need a horse that can go flipping quick, you need a horse that can stay up with the pace, unless they do what they did a couple of years ago where they set it up for Ruby, yeah. But otherwise, you want a horse that can go quick and stay out there. And I thought Fakir was the ultimate Arkle horse when he won that first go of fences, when he beat Sam Crow as well. But on these terms, I can't make a close argument for it. I think if I was pushed, I'd say that at the prices, if it was going to be good ground, Global Citizen could be a bet. There's been 2 horses have been beaten in a champion hurdle. Sizing Europe and Footpad have come and won an Arkle, and Global Citizen was beating the champion hurdle, but I think he'd want good ground. And I think
what about the pace, Tom? Just with Mayor Bonry in the race, Global Citizen, Fakir Dudery, Notebook, bound to be a trailblazer somewhere. It's going to be an absolutely sort of relentless speed duel up front, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it looks. But look, Cash Back. Another one.
Yeah, Cash Back, another front runner.
Yeah, I think.
Will they all set it up for brewing up a storm? It'll just be ridden quietly out the back.
I like Bruin, and he is best fresh, but 2 runs and then not seen since November. I can't be out now. Interesting. I fancy Itchy Feet, and Ollie Murphy says it's his best chance at the festival. Look, let's get to bets in the Arkle. Deasy, have you got anything that you'd back now in the Arkle?
No.
Fine. That's what we're at now. We're not. If you got nothing you want to bet now, that's fine. Sam.
Well, it's a well-established market, isn't it? I understand what Deasy is saying. I think if we had some significant rain in the next week and Fakir Dudery was a confirmed runner, I'd probably press up on him again. That'd be the way that I go. If the ground dried out a bit, I've got a lot of time for Notebook. I think he's got the size, but I would wait till he gets down to the start. I don't see any point in backing him at, 3.4, 3.3 now, when you might as well just wait to see him down at the start and back him and hope that Rachel Blackmore's got him there safe and sound.
Yeah, don't forget Notebook. I'm not saying he's a lay or anything, but how he behaved in the Ballymore last year down at the start. I would say in the place market, Esprit de Large is a fair shout, personally, because it might be up for him, but I can't hand on heart see him winning. There we go. Champion Hurdle. Deasy, kick us off. We talked about Epatante already. We were both very positive about her, and I'm finding it hard to think any differently at the moment. I'm not saying you should steam in, but where are you Champion Hurdle as we speak?
Oh, steam into Epatante, Tom. Steam. I'm actually looking at it here now, like, and you know, there's a lot of these people on about Super Sunday and Sharjah and Darver Star and all. Like, I mean, these are all middling horses. And Epatante has been extremely impressive twice this year. Her only bad run was at the festival last year, and Nicky Henderson gave an excuse for that about the flu jab, whether it was true or not. But like, she's getting the mare's allowance. She has probably the best form this year down through the race. I mean, like, Pentland Hill is a very good horse, but he has done it all this year. And I couldn't see him being able to give her £7. I think you're getting her there now about 4.5 or something. I think that's a cracking bet.
What about the fact she's had the coronavirus for a week?
Oh, one cough. I've coughed more than that since the start of this podcast.
Yeah, but I wouldn't back you at 4.5 to beat these. I mean, to be fair, Nikki did say on Sunday morning she had 4 days free of any coughing, and I think she was going to do some work either today or later on Sunday. So, you know, they're obviously, he didn't look that perturbed by it either. If I'm
She'd
honest.
be after drifting big time in the market by now if there was anything wrong with her.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
She'd be out to 5 or 6 point up if there was anything wrong. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think the market can guide you here. I think she will win this easily. I think
we need to be aware of where Nicky Henderson is with anti-post news about his horses with Unibet, who are an important factor in it, in that they sponsor the race and they've got a lot of stick, and Nicky's got a lot of stick about how he releases news. I think it was interesting how he released that news, in that he didn't do it through there. He did it seemingly through the notes on the phone, etc., and released a statement. And I think he's being overcautious, and I've got to say, fair play for him for releasing that in the way he did. I wouldn't worry too much about it, nor would I worry about her run at the festival last year, where I think the jab really crocked her. You know, a lot was made of it, but perhaps not enough. And if we look at her form subsequently, I don't think we can blame Cheltenham for that run last year. I just think it was where she was at the time. So I'm not necessarily being negative about her at all, but I do think there's another play in the race, which is a big old price. I'm happy to have a go at Not So Sleepy. Bear with me. They did it a few years ago with Marble Arch, who ran in the race at Ascot, won, went to Newbury, pulled up, ran no sort of race, came out, ran second in a Champion Hurdle. I know that was a long time ago, but they've had this race in mind for this horse for a long time. He's got a very similar sort of profile. Watch the start back at Newbury. He got absolutely hammered at the start. He needs to be up with the pace. He's a strong travelling front runner. And if you're looking for a trade-out horse, he could be that. I believe he will still be pitching, swinging in. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think he will, in the run, make his price look silly. And you could do a lot worse on testing ground than the front running Not So Sleepy in the Champion Hurdle, in my opinion. Sam?
Yeah, wouldn't disagree with that, Tom. One proviso I'd say, I think this might be quite a big field, if I'm honest, because I think everybody will feel that it could be a boil over year. And, you know, I look down the list and most of them are going to take their chance and have a bit of a go, you know, even like the Ballyandys of this world and Call Me Lords and Petit Mouchoir. And you could see them all running thinking, well, we might as well have a crack, because we've got Pentland Hills, who's checked out a couple of times already this year. We've got Epatante, who's been coughing. You know, Honeysuckle might not even make the field. You know, Super Sunday's 10. You know, I'm not having him really. You know, I don't know how he's sort of 10 to 1. I might well be eating humble pie with a bit of cream, you know, come Tuesday afternoon. But
he's been the talking horse recently. He's been the one that the judges have been like, do you know what? I could see him, and I get that at a bigger price.
Yeah, I mean, Sharjah's 10 to 1 is a horse I love, but he ran abysmally last time when I fancied him quite strongly on ground that he should have loved. And he's going to run here on soft ground. I don't understand how that's 10 to 1, to be honest. I think I'll go head to head with these. Like, I've got a lot of time for Epatone. I want a horse in the champion hurdle, really. You know, with the exception of perhaps Hardy Eustace, just plucking a name out of thin air. You want a horse that's going to travel through the race. You know, there's going to be a decent field, good gallop, Petit Mouchoir, not so sleepy, one or two others that'll, you know, fancy their chance at a bit of glory. I want a horse that's going to be almost last off the bridle. Pentland Hills is you would think is going to be one of those horses. He should theoretically be well suited by a very strongly run race, a big field, so he can get covered up and smothered away, and hopefully he can just arrive at the last with a chance. And I think that'll probably be how Epatone's ridden as well. I would ridden Chile, doesn't want to take any interest in 9/10 of the race and just come to the last, and then hopefully quicken up the hill from there. And I think those two, they look the two horses for me that are going to be last off the bridle and the classiest horses in the field. Obviously, Envoy Allen, you don't think is going to run. I think he would be a major threat if they changed their minds and took an alternative route with him. And the only other one that I'd see at a bigger price that I think could place would be Ballyandy. You know, just good old Ballyandy might run into third or fourth or whatever.
We've had a couple just on that. Both Paul Whitling, Dave Winder as well have got in touch, and Winder, apologies, David, and said agree on Ballyandy. And when I was going through the race looking for big prices, I came down on Ballyandy and Not So Sleepy.
Yeah,
I went for the latter, but I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, 21, 22 to 1, 25 to 1. You know, I'd probably bet him small win and 3/4 place probably if I was going to play. Because he looks as good as ever this year, and to be fair, he's running to a good level. We've seen plenty of him. He's got decent form at Cheltenham over a number of years. It could just be one of those years where something like him pops up. You know, I wouldn't say that Pentland Hills is bomb-proof by any stretch of the imagination, but whereas everybody was so negative on that Haydock performance, I just think, well, just stop the race 150 yards from the line. He's tremendously impressive to that point, albeit in a small field in a bit of a egg and spoon race. But he's now had his win cauterized a little bit and just a little bit of a tinker there. He's going to be a bit fitter. And you just think it's been building blocks to this point, really. He's done a lot wrong. He's already got Cheltenham form. He hasn't got a lot of experience over hurdles, really, either. So he's been accruing that this year. I think, you know, hopefully the market will be against him a little bit, and you get a reasonable price about him, and you might be able to trade out of him. That's my thinking, anyway.
Anything to add, champion hurdle wise?
Just I'd give a shout out to Silver Streak as well. Just the big prices, you know, they was staying on all the time last year. Second Epatone to Christmas. Nothing wrong with his form. He's a big enough price. I think that he's maybe a bit forgotten, maybe because he's
definitely.
Yeah. So the one Evan Williams has maintained he wants decent ground would be my only niggle. That would be my slight concern on him. Yeah,
but to be fair, he still, you know, plugged on for second on in the bog last year, didn't he? So not too much of an issue for me, I suppose.
Deasy's gone, he's back, thank goodness. Right, we're going to, as I say, the way we're doing this is 3 grade 1s a day, then any other bets. AOB normally stands for any other business, but you see what we did there. We thought we were being clever. So any other bets on day 1 would be any of the handicaps, the mares, for example. Deasy and I have already talked about our mares bets or our view on it, and I think we're both agreeing that if both the mares turn up, Benny is the winner. Deasy, kick us off with any other bets on day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival.
So the one I kind of short enough price in the Novice Chase is Hold the Note, McShannon's horse. I thought he was out there just at Christmas, and his race was ruined by a horse falling in front of him. I don't know, it was in Stephen's Day or the day, or Boxing Day as you call it, the day after it. But I thought he was going to win that race. He's in here at a decent enough weight. I'm just getting up here now. He's in at 145 now. He's fairly well found in the market, but I think he's going to run a cracker in that. That's the Northern Trust Company Novices Handicap Chase, the 450.
I'll jump on that bandwagon. I absolutely agree. I had the fortune of talking to Jack Shannon out at Maidan when he had a runner out there, and the first question I wanted to ask him afterwards at the soft drinks bar was, Jack, do you have anything about Hold the Note? He was really positive about him, and I think, you know, he immediately referenced Mr. Whitaker. I think the important point there is, you know, if this horse was trained by a sort of sexier profile, I think he'd be shorter than he is, around about 11.0. Apologies if I'm making that up, but I had him yesterday. And yet, actually, he's the right sort of horse, given what they did with Mr. Whitaker, and they tried to do it with another horse in these colours as well, the Tim Radford colours. And I think he's a fair old price. He's 145, so he's top of the weight, but he looks like he's better than that. He ran the perfect race for it last time, I thought, and I think he's a lovely sort of bet for the race. So he is very much on my shortlist for the handicaps. I've got another couple, but Sam, anything to add to that?
Well, you lads have stolen my thunder, because I've probably two horses I'm interested in handicaps on the first day. Hold the Note's one of them. My only slight concern is a lack of sort of chase form around Cheltenham, which Imperial Aura and one or two others in the field can boast. But at least he has been round there in a bumper, and he was only a couple of lengths behind Master Debonair, which didn't look a bad run at the time. And I think he would have taken a big hand in that Boxing Day handicap when he got bought down, didn't he? Yeah. Which was a real shame, behind Comanche Red, and that race has worked out pretty well. They did the job. He ran brilliantly when I was at Warwick on Classic Chase Day, and he chased home 2 for gold. Travelled like a dream through that race as well, and it was a complete bog. The ground was horrible, and he just didn't quite see it out against a dyed-in-the-wool stayer who's gone on to run really well in the Reynoldstown. So, yeah, he'd probably be top of my list for handicap bets on the first day.
We've had Dave's got in touch again. I love the photo, Dave. I think, is that a bottom photo with the man in there?
Yeah,
I think it is. Is that really
bottom the program, the TV program?
It is. Anyway, Stormy Island's place in the Mares. Just bring that out to a Mares chat. I've got nothing to add to the Mares as things stand at the moment, Dave. I apologise because I think Benny will run there, and I think Honeysuckle will too, to be honest. And I think Benny will have a measure. But have we got anything to say on the Mares, chaps?
The only other one I'd look at there, if they ran it and there was a bit of extra place betting, would be Eglantine Desoy, who obviously won the Mares Novice 12 months ago. I thought she ran really well. She showed like she was coming back in that handicap hurdle at the Dubai Racing Festival. I took a punt on her at a big price that day, and she looked like she was going to win and then just faded out of it. Hopefully that's brought her forward fitness-wise, and I'll be interested to see wherever she goes Cheltenham week.
Confirmation from Dave. That's Rick Mail. Thank you. Eglantine to sell there. Dees, anything Mares-wise you want to expand upon, or any other handicap bets?
Nothing. No, I think Stormy Ireland is rock solid to finish second or third.
Okay, I'm going to give you it's going to be my festival best bet, even though the price has gone. But my word, Mr. Armour is a lovely profile for the Ultimate. Absolutely love it. We've had a few in on Vindication, incidentally, if I can try and go back and find them. But I can see the Vindication case. There's looking at profiles for an Ultimate. The only thing against Vindication is not many of the winners of this race. There you go, from Mal Lloyd. Not many of the winners of this race have won an Ultima, having started the season more than £3 above their current handicap mark. However, having said that, a lot of them have won a graded race over 3 miles, graded handicap over 3 miles. It's not like the plot race you tend to get for some of the races at the festival. You want a good proven horse who's won over the trip before, and it can be a real test. Novices has got a good record in it as well. But I think this guy placed at the festival. He's off a lovely racing weight. For some reason, headgear, you got a good record in headgear in this race, and he wore blinkers last time. And a hurdles prep is a good old prep for this race as well. So I think he ticks all those boxes. He's only about 11.0 now, but I would love him to win. I think he's a great old bet, Discorama, for me. Sam, anything to add on that? Or
only Who Dares wins for me, being a big Del Boy fan. The point you make about the headgear is encouraging. Obviously, he had the cheap pieces on at Kempton last time. That seemed to turn him inside out a bit. He saw the trip out well. I think he's finished 5th in a per temps round here. He's been an incredible horse, really, placed in a series of really good quality flat handicaps, and going and winning graded races over fences as well. He's just been an astonishing horse, and just those cheap pieces just help concentrate his mind a little bit. Alan King loves running a novice in this race. I think he's double punt at this stage.
He's won it twice with novices in the last 15 years.
Yeah. There we go.
Very well worth noting. And if the horse goes, I thought it was really interesting. The handicapper left him alone off the back of his win last time. Was he 146, something like that? I think that's very fair.
And as Dees likes to say, he was quite strong from the back of the last that day, wasn't he?
That's it, boy. Finish well. That's what you want to do.
From the back of the last.
There's no point winning the first mile.
The last day.
In Kempton. the last day.
Exactly. I just want to go on the National Hunt Chase. Remember, I know we're 35 minutes in, but day one is the biggest day. We've still got a chance of making it in under an hour.
We're doing 3 more days after this, or is this the one day we're doing?
We'll be here for 3 more days.
Just on the National Hunt Chase, be wary of Out and Out taking on Carefully Selected. He's got the horrible profile for the race. He's inexperienced. He jumps like shite. However, he might just be too good now, given what is taking him on. I still think there's a price. I couldn't find one today, but I still think there's a price in there that's got loads of experience, which ticks the experience box. But I don't know what it is, and I'm less against Carefully Selected than I was for. I wouldn't back him. Anyone else?
7-4, isn't he?
Oh,
He's
sure.
7-4.
He
He don't jump great, does he, Tom?
No,
He'd be one
play him so much. You're going to be getting about 1.3 or something to play him, like max play him.
I'd be putting him in the hod, I would. 7-4.
Fine, good.
If you want to
There we go.
Day one. Hit me with anything else while you still can. Day one.
New Tide in the 4-miler. Big price.
Okay. Yeah. He's been hammered recently. He's at around about 15.0 now, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he was actually. He was a much bigger price last Friday, but I still think
Deasy's mopped it all up, hasn't he?
I know who might have backed quite a lot of him, but there we go. He's been very well supported. He's interesting. Okay, we're going to move on to day two. That's it, day two.
Right. It will be day two if we don't hurry up.
Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Sam Turner, MLN. Discuss.
Love the horse to bits. Jumps very professionally, very effective, very efficient. Travels beautifully. He's got the pace to win over 2. The only thing I would say, and it might have been because he was just left a little bit short the last day, was that he didn't really run away from those 2 horses at Naas in the style that I thought he would do. So I wonder whether this trip is just going to be the upper end. I could see him coming back next year for a champion hurdle rather than going up in trip. I think he's got a lot of natural pace, quite exuberant. But I just love the way he flicks over his hurdles, and he's a real quality animal. It's going to be incredibly tough to beat here. But there's a series of nice horses up against him, as you would expect for Ballymore. It's often one of the most competitive races of the week, and I don't think this is going to be any different either, if I'm honest. So the likes of Sporting John, don't know where Asterion Falange will run, but I mean, me and Deasy, and probably you, Tom, we've just been Sporting John fans from the first time we saw him really this season. Strong stayer, got speed, and he's just been sort of a bit green and learning on the job, but I thought he was very professional at Ascot. That was a good time really for just a 5-runner race round Ascot. I thought it was a really good speed figure, and that certainly gives him a major chance of upsetting the apple cart. They're on a par really with what they've done on the clock, these two, and one's 5-4, the other one's 9-2, 5-1. So I probably know which way I'll be going on the day, betting wise, but he's a tough horse to take on Envoy Island because he's been there, done it, he won the bumper, and he's just put together a series of really good efforts over hurdles this year. He's a class act, no doubt.
Deasy, pick up off that.
I don't really think he's going to say it all. I'm leaning towards backing Sporting John in this. I think if he's 7.0, 7.5 or something, I think that's a great price. He could be a super horse. He really good. That was his first real test at last, and he trashed Master Debonair, which, I mean, he's a good horse. Pipe Smoker, I think Pipe Smoker kind of got close enough to Chantry House in one of his first runs, and he's beaten him easily as well. I think that I was all for Envoy Allen. He was the banker and all that, but the more I look at Sporting John, the more I'd be leaning towards him just at the prices for a bit of value. He's a nice horse.
What about you, Tom?
Yeah, this race has a history of you've got to look towards the top end of the market. Sporting John, for example, would be a horrible horse in a Supreme for me off the back of a couple of starts, but I think he's lovely for this race. Dan Barber wrote a really interesting article on Timeform about, is the Supreme more of a staying pet than the Ballymore? And having written or helped with Matt Toombs, who's the spieler on Twitter, who is a Cheltenham maestro genius, follow whatever he says. He's been arguing that sort of case for years, genuinely. It is, I know it's over further, but you get so many horses that run well in this, coming back in trip, doing well in an Arkle, doing well, winning a champion hurdle. And so many supreme horses who just shape ultimately and further in the career, like out and out stayers. And, an inexperienced, speedy horse does so well in this. Envoy Allen is the right favourite, and I wouldn't want to be taking him on. And I think the only horse that can possibly beat him is Sporting John. And I know it's boring, but I really believe that. So I would very much be with the first two in the betting. If the prices stay like they were, the chicken shit in me, for want of a better expression, probably because I'm not bold enough to say Envoy Allen's the banker of the festival, but I can't really argue with both of them, and I cannot see what will serve it up to them either. So I'd be very much front two in the betting.
I would have had Envoy Allen a lot of like doubles and trebles and knackers, but I would be put off now by the fact Sporting John is going in this race. I thought he would have gone for the Supreme, and I'd have backed it, big enough prices for it, but he's here, so you have to take him very seriously.
Yeah, I just couldn't have it. He's not going Supreme, I don't think, and I think this is the right race for him. I think he'll give Envoy Allen something to think about. I really do.
If you watch his first race, where he was so green, he wasn't fully fit, and just the way he won it from once he got one little shake of the reins, he just Harry Senior and a few other horses, he beat them easily, and Philip Hobbs said he was about 75% fit.
Yeah, and Barry rode him like he was as well that day. Yeah. I think he just went off in his hands, didn't he?
He couldn't jump. He jumped a few like they were fences. He went through a few, and he still won at his ease.
Just to add to, if you want to back Envoy Allen, Sam, where are you on leave it till the day? I mean, is he going to go off a good deal shorter than now if he lines up here?
I can't see it. I mean, as long as Sporting John's in the race, and don't forget you've got a good Tizard horse in behind, a Mullins horse, well, possibly two Mullins horses. I think Longhouse Poet is a perfectly viable each-way alternative as well at sort of 18-20. He's got 4 or 5 lengths to make up on Envoy Allen, but we saw with these connections last year, City Island won this race, and it's interesting that they're keen to come here instead of perhaps stepping up in trip for the Albert Bartlett. He'd be one I'd be interested in at a tall price, Longhouse Poet, because I think he's got a bit of class and he's useful, and he wasn't losing too much ground on Envoy Allen. So if you take that as the pivotal form line perhaps for this race, then he has to be there and thereabouts. But I can't see Envoy Allen getting a lot shorter, not with the way the markets work these days. If the bookmakers have half a decent day on the Tuesday, they'll be keen to take this on. There'll be punters keen to take it on the exchange. So no, I wouldn't be diving in for the 2.3 now, if I'm honest.
Brooksy Lad says the big breakaway wins this. Haven't touched on him yet. Envoy going to be ridden like Doug Wibb, like it's unbeatable. I want to pick up on that. But I know what you mean. But Doug Wibb, and I had a lot of money on Doug Wibb, and it was one of my worst results of the festival, and it was awful, and I've still not gotten over it. But knowing as I do now about the nature of that race, God, he was the wrong horse to back in that race. And you can ride Envoy like that in a Ballymore, and I think it'll be all right. There's such different races. Do we want to add anything to Big Breakaway, Dees or Sam?
Well, he cost a lot of money, and we still don't know how good he is. I mean, the Big Getaway as well. Don't get them mixed up, but obviously different trainers. Big Getaway stepped forward massively for a change of tactics last time, ridden more aggressively, galloped them into submission. There's plenty of strength and depth in this race, so I think you will still get your price about Envoy Allen. Even if you are of the opinion that he's a good thing and probably one of the bankers of the week, I still think there's enough quality in behind him for that price to hold up.
Right, we're going to move on. RSA is next. And this is fascinating because you've got Champ who fell last time. I'm going to bore you with stats very shortly on that. But first of all, Dees, have you changed your opinion since the minis that we did on Champ, and anything else at bigger prices?
I am going to say Slade House in this. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been looking. If he turns up here, I think if he turned up in the Marsh, he will win it. But if he turns up in this, I think he'll win this as well. I think he will take some beating, especially if the ground is very soft. I think I just look back through him again this year, like in the Bet Victor Gold Cup, where he just came for the back of the field and fell out to second last. It was absolutely the best horse in that race by a mile. I think that this triple suit him, and I think he's a big chunky price. So I'm gonna go with him.
I'd be interested if he runs, given that they seem to be leaning into
yeah, but he's the one for me in this, I think.
Fine. Sam?
I'm not as negative on Champ's chance as perhaps one or two people. Other than the fact that he came down with an abysmal effort, last time at Cheltenham, and that might be in the back of his mind when he comes here. I am a big Manella Indo fan, though. I would have loved him to have another run just for experience. Yeah. That's my only slight concern. But he made his start over fences quite early on in the season. I'm surprised that they didn't sort of cram one in and around Christmas and then give him that run last time as they did at Navan and just get the 3 runs into him. But they obviously feel that, look, Henry de Bromhead's an absolute genius of training chasers, certainly to win at the Cheltenham Festival. And the way that form's worked out at Navan, obviously the runner-up has gone and won the 10 up, a Grade 2 race, the 8th one since. If you go back to the Punchestown hurdle that Manella Indo won last year to round off the season and backed up the Cheltenham win, you've got Alaho in that race who could take him on here. He's looked a world beater on occasion this year. Carefully selected, that was in the race. Go another one. San Soretto, who's won 3 this season. So that race has worked out beautifully, really. And I just love the way he went through that race at Navan. Any horse that wins at Navan from the front, they're going to stay well. They've died in the wall stayers. Big, robust horse, got the scope to jump. Barely put a foot wrong. And Captain CJ came and had a little bit of a go at him just after the last, and he turned him away as if he was nothing. It was just a fly on his shoulder. So I just love the way that he moved through that race. And obviously Rachel Blackmore, Henry de Bromhead, real good combination. If you're betting Cheltenham winners, he would be my pick at the moment in this race.
If you don't mind me just be boring for a second, just because I wanted to really make a case for Copperhead, who I really love for the race, and I think he's not so underestimated now, but I think he was in comparison to some sexier horses. This is again from Matt Toombs, who writes this did write this brilliant Cheltenham Festival betting guide. But I think when you've got horses you want to take on at the top of the market, it can be useful to back them up a little bit. Champ fell last time. The last winner to have fallen on a last start was in 1981. Make of that what you will. No winner of the 4 miler has either won off a fall. The likes of Moscow Flyer did it in an Arkle, Black Hercules in a Marsh. But I think in these staying races, it's not easy if you haven't had an ideal preparation. And then you come to Manella Indo, who's had just 2 runs, only 2 winners in the last 25 years of the race of Florida Pearl and Don Poli, where he went against the stats. Now, all of those add up to people going stats, schmats. But when you've got horses who are short at the top of the betting, I'm happy enough to go against them. And I'm probably trying to find reasons to take them on. But I like Copperhead's experience. The Reynoldstown hasn't exactly been a bad trial. I think he's lovely for the race. I don't mind that he's had a handicap go. Horses that have won handicaps have won RSA subsequently. So I think of those, given that he's very much outsider of those 3, I would much rather be in his camp as opposed to those 2 ahead of him that haven't had ideal preps. Personally, thanks to Matt for all those stats. Anything to add to that?
Can't knock Copperhead. Like you, Tom, I like the fact that he's jumped around Wincanton in a big field of handicappers. So, he's used to the hustle and bustle of a race of that nature. He's improved with every start. I mean, the handicap marks tell you that, and the Racing Post ratings tell you that. He's just jumped with every run. So I couldn't rule him out at all. He'd be a big worry for me if I was, big Manella Indo fan, but he's a big thorn in the side for sure.
Good stuff. We got anything to add, RSA? Dees, you've made your views.
No, happy enough. Yeah.
Slate House, okay. Let's move on to the Champion Chase. I cannot have a strong opinion on this. I can't really argue massively where the front 3 are in the betting. Altior's the right favourite, and I suppose on what Deffy's done, he should be 2nd fav, and Shaken should probably just about be 3rd fav, though I'd lean towards him if pushed. But I wouldn't have a bet now, and I'm not even certain I will on the day. Sam?
I think that's probably a good adage, Tom, to be honest. I'll probably end up backing whichever one's the biggest price, because I think they've all got a very similar chance. If you're saying to me, what is the potential superstar in the field? I think it's Chacun Pessoir. I think he's the one that's capable of that performance that sort of blows you out of the water. If you're Altior, will be workmanlike, could well get the job done again. Deffy, in some respects, he'll be ridden chilly and come and try and win by a length and a half like he does. I think Chacun Pessoir, as we've seen a couple of times in his career already, including last time when he demolished Min at Leopardstown, and even at Punchestown, when off the back of a poor preparation, he was exhilarating. He's the one horse for me, I think, that could just be a worldie in this race. And he's the one that I sort of side with a little bit at the moment. I thought he was very ring rusty 2 starts back when a Plutar beat him. I thought he stepped forward quite markedly off the back of that run at the Dublin Racing Festival. And I know a lot of people say, well, over 2 miles, blah, blah, blah. But Chacun Passoir was probably only a length clear at the last, propped at it, got into the bottom of it, and then just pulled away after the last for a 4-length win, beating a pretty good horse who's second favourite for the Ryanair. So I think that's very, very strong form. And I think it's probably better than Defi de Soy's managed this year, and certainly better than Altior's managed, I think, as well. So he would probably be my nominal selection at this stage.
So I everything you've said is exactly what I agree with. So and apologies for being lazy. But
oh dear.
I think that's spot on. But I know a man who fancies the second fav. Dees.
Me. Oh yeah.
You.
Thank you, Enki.
Well, I was actually I'm looking here. Like I think if I was going to back any, if they were all the same price, I'd probably back Defi de Soy, but they're not. I think Chacun Passoir had a very hard race at the Dublin Racing Festival. I think that myself and Min were at it from, I'd say, 3/4 of a mile out, going hammer and tongs, and maybe that could have left a mark on him. This is an incredibly hard race to pick one. So the way I was going to play this, because I know people are looking for bets here, is I am going to back Bundor into place. He's a massive price. He's definitely running here. They said that they're going to take his chance here. All it'll take is for one of them to burn themselves out, fall, something like that. Maybe even if you can get 4 places on the day, I think Bundor, and he's probably about 55.0, 60.0 to win. You might get about 10.0 to place. I think that's probably the way I'll play this on the day. Just seeing the way the 3 prices are now. And that's after melting Tom's brain there now. Look at him.
Is this the horse that I backed in the Grand Annual last year that was second?
Yeah.
That very same?
Yeah.
Yes. Came absolutely Dublin and couldn't get past a 17-year-old.
I'm
off.
So, we're going to get the money back.
Very much. Enjoy the fairs.
But like between the three, like whatever the three, you can also do a try cast in the tree and just get them all home and you'll be happy out with that. But I go like you were kind of on the fence about who to back at all. I think Bundor into place now, small bet, and watch the other 3 tear each other's to shreds.
It was the Champion Hurdle was a 3-runner race last year and won by.
What about Politolog, lads? For place bet.
Yeah. There you go. Like there's all it will take is for one of the top 3 to something to go wrong.
One thing I'll say on Politolog, I think we need to remember that last year they trained him as a 3-miler to start the season and it didn't work. This year has been 2 miles through and through, and it's been all about the festival. So yes, I can see him bettering his position last year.
Absolutely brilliant horse, fresh. A length and a quarter behind Altior, 10 times the price. I'd just say if you're looking for a place bet and one that might just nuzzle into the 3, then he would probably be the one for me. I mean, we know what Nichols is like as a target trainer. Saw it with Surname. I mean, he broke Altior's heart and probably broke Surname, to be honest, early part of the year. And Politolog is going to be absolutely cherry ripe for this, you can imagine. So he'd be the one for a big price for me.
Racing Tracker said Dynamite Dollars. We're talking about Nichols, so it seems sensible to mention that Dynamite Dollars should not be discounted for a place. And I've got this flat track image in my head. Am I wrong thinking that? Have I heard that somewhere?
Dynamite?
Yeah, Dynamite.
He last year if he turned up, wouldn't he? He would have won it last year.
Say again?
He would have won the Arkle last year if he turned up. Dynamite Dollars was the favourite for the Arkle, I think, before he was.
He was. Yeah. If he'd handled the track, he would.
Yeah.
He's not. I feel like Nichols had said something about him at Cheltenham. I might be wrong. He ran in that. He was comfortably beaten by Lawler, wasn't he, at the track? I don't know. He wouldn't be for me personally. Any other bets on day 2? Go on.
The only one that has interested me a little bit. Well, a couple of novices have interested me in the Coral Cup. Protectorat, who's been well found in the market. I got him down as a boys race the conditionals race type of horse, but obviously he jumped up quite a lot in the handicap off the back of that last performance, which is a good one. But just a horse I saw at the Dublin Racing Festival, I thought, he's gone through the line quite nicely, and I thought he might be a conditionals race, and that's Conflated. Horse of Gordon Elliott's Conflated. He finished 4th behind Asterion Forlorn. She's finished 4th behind Envoire Allen. And notice Gordon Elliott's done this in the last 3 or 4 years, run these horses in graded races. I think he did it with the Storyteller and 1 or 2 others. And then they just drop into a handicap off the back of some really encouraging efforts in small field graded chases where, they're not going to be seen to the best effect. He's already won a big field hurdle as well at Fairy House. So he's got a bit of experience over hurdles, 6 starts over hurdles. Just a lightly raced horse, 138 official rating, could get a nice weight. Just one for me at sort of 16, 20 to 1, just to keep an eye on.
And that's in the Coral Cup?
Yeah, he's in that. I think that's the race he's going to go for. Well, I've been told that's the race he's going to go for, Conflated. So it's just all that form, that graded form behind all the good horses in Ireland. Not beaten that far, not knocked about, just running through the line quite nicely and educated. And I just wondered whether he might be one for a handicap.
In the Coral Cup as well, I thought Canardier was interesting. He's changed trainers. He went off pretty short last year. And I know this relates to what you were saying, Sam. He was a first season novice last year, and for some reason, again, it's a trend thing. I personally like to swerve first season novices in the Coral Cup, just because they've got a bad record. But as just a way of narrowing it down, I wouldn't argue against a 20 at all for that reason. If you
I tipped him last year, Tom, in this.
What's that?
I tipped him last year in this, Canardier.
Yeah,
he ran really well.
Yeah,
really well.
He's pretty well found in the market now, based on we haven't seen him for a long time.
He's up moving to Willie Mullins as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but it wouldn't be one to go mad on. I don't think I've got anything else for day one. Dees?
Champagne Well in the Coral Cup for me. I think that, like you said about Conflated, in Ireland, he has kind of similar enough kind of profile in England, I suppose. He's finished behind Time Hill, Redford Road, Ramsey the Tay, all over 2 mile 5-ish. He's Cheltenham form. He won the first race of the season at Cheltenham this year, fairly well, very well backed. And Frog O'Brien has said he's definitely going for this, and he's one of their best chances of the week. So he's a nice chunky price. You're going to get about 25 to 1 on him.
He should enjoy the big field and the hustle and bustle, shouldn't he? He just got to the front too soon behind Redford Road, didn't he? When I backed him.
I think he's been unlucky. Nothing he could do about with Time Hill, but he was definitely lucky against Redford Road, and I think Ramsey Zate was just a bit, he got away from him. But I think he's a good horse. He's second. He's plenty of experience as well. So yeah, I think he'd be a nice solid bet. And I am going to back Israel Champ in the bumper. One touch appreciated. Israel Champ, I think Dave Pipe has won there, and he's a bit of course distance for him as well.
I can see a few people at the prices saying they wouldn't touch appreciate it now, and I couldn't argue with that at the current prices, given the history and the nature of the bumper. Anything else to add on day 2? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Done.
Lovely. Day 3, the first race we're going to be looking at. We're nearly on an hour. We're doing well, lads. The Marsh Novices Chase. If Allaho turns up here, I'd be a very happy, but I'm not sure he's going to. Go on, Sam.
Yeah, with you. I think this is his race. But he looks like he's going to run in the RSA. And, obviously Willie Mullins and Ruby Walsh know infinitely more about horse racing than I do. But he looks quite a free-going, exuberant type who'd be well suited by 2.425 rather than 3 1/4 on soft ground. It's a strange decision for me, but they don't make it lightly, and he was tried over 3 miles as a hurdler, so they obviously felt that he's always shown in his work at home that he's going to be a staying type horse rather than a speed horse. But so he's a big doubt at the head of the market. Obviously, we've got the Fakir Duderie conundrum. I think if he ran in this, I'd be very, very keen on him. He sort of got Sam Crow on the floor, didn't he, in the Drinmore when he ran over 2.4, and the trip will be no issue for him whatsoever. I wouldn't have thought. The only slight concern would be whether the ground's dried out a little bit by the Thursday or not. So that's a bit of a question mark. And then Itchy Feet, a horse of immense ability and quality, who Ollie Murphy feels is probably his best bet of the week, or his best chance of the week. He's been really smooth. I mean, he won an absolute tin pot race at Leicester first time up, but not an easy track to jump round, and he was pretty good round there. And then just last time at Sandown in that Grade 1, I thought he was tremendously impressive. So I'd be very respectful of him. Not a race I'd want to bet in until I've seen the actual lineup, I must admit. You know, with Alaho being a doubt, Fakir Dudari being a doubt, I'll just wait till the day or wait till the day before when we've got the decks.
Sam, apologies for jumping on your coattails. I agree. I think Itchy's the right favourite. I got a feeling Alaho might run here. I don't know what. Willie Mullins bingo, I think, might come down here personally, but we'll see. But I'd want to wait till the day for obvious reasons. I have no strong opinion at the current prices. Deasy, Marsh?
Mr. Fisher, if he turns up here, I'd be very strong on him if he turns up. I'd be strong on him whatever race he turns up in, but I think he will run here, and I could see him having a right good crack off.
What about last year? Well, I suppose it was a Supreme last year. He had he again, profile wise for that, he wasn't quite right. I can see him. I can see that for this. Yeah,
he wasn't really I don't think he was really fancy for the Supreme. He was off a big enough price, and he just jogged around but he's looked much better over fences, and he has I think I love in my horses that he finishes off his races very well. He can kick away from the last, and he has that bit of speed when he needs it. So I thought he was very good. I think he beat Good Boy Bobby very well, and I mean he absolutely trashed Al Dancer the last. I know that he says a length, but I think he won it quite easily. So I'd be very sweet on Mr. Fisher.
There's one comment which I just want to pick up on. Ollie's going to have a great festival, and I presume that means Ollie Murphy. And I think that's really interesting because look at where Ollie Murphy learnt his craft. It was with Gordon Elliott, and in particular those formulative days where Gordon was really making his assault on the Cheltenham Festival. And I think there's a chance over this year and the coming seasons, Ollie Murphy will be underestimated at the Cheltenham Festival. He's not throwing any arrows at it for the sake of it. He had a brilliant record last year. His three main hopes were second, third and fourth in their respective races, Grade 1 races. And I genuinely think he's underestimated with regard to the festival. And that's all I have to say about that. Anything else on that, or should we move on, chaps?
Move on.
Okay, Marsh Novices Chase into the Ryanair. Deasy, go. I'm on the fence again.
I think I'd be everyone is putting this up as La Plutard and Min. I'd be with La Plutard. But again, very sharp price, so I wouldn't be getting interested in it. If I had to have a bet, no. And this is going on the heavy ground as well. I'd be going for St. Calvados. St. Calvados is about 21.0. Has looked a much better horse this year. Will need a bit of a cut in the ground, but I think he's definitely overpriced. And you know, the Ryanair, you can't back anything in the Ryanair till the day because you don't know what's going to turn up there. But he is definitely going to run in this race, and I could see him going off much shorter than 20.0, and I'd say he could easily place if it's heavy. He could have a good rack winning.
Sam.
One of my strongest views of the week, Tom, I think. A Plutard. Hopefully he'll come for this and not the Champion Chase. This looks the actual natural race for him. Obviously, he thumped Chacun Pour Soi when they met over Christmas at Leopardstown. I thought that was a terrific effort from him. Already got good form around the track. Obviously, he won by 16 lengths, the novice handicap, who, fair to say, he was reasonably treated that day. You know, another de Bromhead horse. I couldn't be a bigger fan of this yard, and certainly the pilot on top, Rachel Blackmore. A bit more of her later, probably, but I just think he's got everything that he needs. I mean, this track, obviously, they're on the new course, which obviously does suit front runners. So the likes of Froden and one or two others, ASO, Min. Those horses are going to be getting on with it. You're going to need a horse that can travel in behind them, travel well, and see it up the hill. And he fits that criteria for me. I still don't think we've seen the best of him. He's leapt forward sort of with each run. Didn't get the trip at Punchestown over 3 miles back in the spring. Needed the run behind Ballymore next time. And then last time he beat Chacun Pour Soi in a world record time around Leopardstown. Everything he does on the clock is top class. He's got course form. He's ridden by one of the most talented riders of a generation, and trained by one of the best trainers of a generation as well. So a Plutard for me, one of the better bets of the week.
And that is agreeing with a couple of people that have written in as well. I've got nothing else to add to the Ryanair other than my anti-post bet on this is the worst in centuries. Footpad. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh my God.
There was one horse in this that I did take a little bit of an anti-post interest in. That was Riders on the Storm. But he had such a lung bursting run at Ascot last time. I've just gone cold on his chance. I would be really, really worried that he'd recoil off that. I mean, Nigel Twiston-Davies said he was bucking and kicking the next day. He might have an iron constitution. He might be like Deasy after 12 pints of Guinness. He can go in the next day at 10 o'clock and have another 4. But I would worry that ground at Ascot that day with the wind. Oh, yeah. Always hydrate, Deasy. You've got to hydrate. I would worry that day at Ascot has left its mark on him. So I've almost written that bet off, if I'm honest. And I think a Plutard has had a much better preparation coming into the race.
Let's move on to the Stayers Hurdle, and I suppose the most pertinent question is, if you're watching this a few days out from the Cheltenham Festival 2020, is do you just wait for the day with regards to the price about Paisley Park? My view is he can't really get any shorter, and depending on how you play, you might chance of getting a bigger price on the day. So there you go. I can't find you an each way bet in the race personally. I think Paisley Park will win, and I'm happy to sit back and watch him win, and I won't be getting involved. Deasy.
Yeah, this is a race that you played without market. We will have one up in the day. Paisley Park, Paisley Park is another one for doubles and trebles if you're into that kind of thing, but I wouldn't be betting at that kind of price. I was looking through this, just going, I might as well pick out something mad. So Penhill there, Penhill is sad enough. Penhill has run a few times this year, and I don't know, is he maybe after kind of showing his hand? And I was going way down through and I found one there called the Jam Man. The Jam Man is in there at an absolutely massive price to win. But if you get him without, he's going to be possibly about 40.0 without. I think he's a good each way bet to nothing at that kind of price. He's definitely going to run here. His trainer Ronan McNally has kind of said that they want to have their day out, and he's an incredibly improving horse. You remember this was the horse now that he sent over to England and landed a massive gamble with, brought into the steward's room for a couple of hours and grilled about it. But he has improved. Ran a great race at the Dublin Racing Festival behind Tracy's and Escarty. This is again. There's not much in this race. Everything has kind of had a run against everything else, and is well known to everyone. Emma Tom maybe might show up on the day and do something, but I think if you want to have, but I should be doing fun bets. But if you want a fun bet, the Jam Man each way in the without market at a huge price.
Talking of without market, Brownie 2711 says, "What about City Island without Paisley?" There's a couple that City Island. I'm not quite, Sam. I don't know where I am with City Island. He's not, to be honest, he's not a horse I considered for this, given that I thought he was having his Novice Chase campaign. Yeah,
could be an interesting one. Switch back though, couldn't he, with these connections? I mean, obviously Martin Brazil landed a bit of a touch with him 12 months beforehand. I mean, you look down the list here. You know, Benny Didier, second favourite, unlikely to run. Champ. I mean, that's third favourite. Champ. Somerville Boy, question mark on stamina. Emiton, very good last day, but didn't jump particularly well the first day. City Island, Penhill. We've seen plenty of Penhill. I always think he's a better horse when he's fresh and undercooked rather than overcooked. Sam Crow, Apples Jade, Lorena. Are they even going to show up? Bacardi's is nearly older than me. Lammy Surge, Lammy Dodge, The World's End, William Henry, Coral Cup, Liz Nagar Oscar. Yeah, you could see him running well. I can understand where Deasy's coming through, looking to pick one out of left field. I'll probably do the same with Ronald Pump, to be honest. I think he's got a bit of a squeak at a massive price in the without market. I just can't. I think you're going to want something that's probably not ridden to win the race. If you're going to look for something in that without market, something that's going to pick up some pieces late on, might run through for second. This race has got a history of some big price horses placing, which you couldn't perceive to be the case before the race started. So. We've seen Anselm win it in the last God knows how many years. He was 66 to 1. So I would take a chance with something like Ronald Pump. He's another horse like one or two we've mentioned that have had abortive sort of chase campaigns this year, back over hurdles. He ran really well in a Leopardstown handicap hurdle over Christmas time that's worked out incredibly well. That was on the same card as Penhill ran. He ran a bigger speed figure than Penhill that day. Penhill's sort of 6 or 8 to 1, and he's 33s and 40s. So I'd take a small chance and throw a few shekels at him each way.
I think we're all aiming at a similar sort of way, and we're not exactly here going lay Paisley Park because it's very difficult to see him beat, but equally we're not perhaps the sort that gets stuck into the current sort of price. So there you go. That's Stayers Hurdle done. As far as any other bets on the day, I will launch him with Silver Sheen in the Potemps. He's an Irish horse that's come over and won a UK race to get into this. Jessica Harrington did that last year with a horse that has just run out of my mind. Finished won at Huntingdon.
Walk Away, I think, was it? Was it Walk Away? Walk Away?
No, it wasn't Walk Away. Anyway, it finished third in this and then ran in a Grade 1 at Puntertown and would have gone very close, I think, having fallen. The point being, don't worry about the fact that she came to the UK to get into this. She does that because they're easier races to win. I thought Silver Sheen was good value for the win last time. The third or the fourth, whichever one it was, has come out, the Williams horse, and absolutely bolted in since. Thankfully, the handicapper looked at the British form from Warwick and still raised the horse £3 when the weights came out to give it 136, which gives it a nigh on certain chance of getting in. I think Silver Sheen is a really good bet in this contest. So that would be my horses and any other bet horse in the Potemps. Sam Turner.
Yeah, not a race that I've sort of dug in too deeply. I was there that day that Silver Sheen won. And I remember halfway round thinking, well, this is travelling quite nicely. And look at old Cider Burley. He's going to finish last. He's not even going to qualify if he's not careful. And how he manages to get fourth from the position he was, well, beyond me, really. I think he's been reassessed after winning this race last year, but he's only sort of £4 higher than winning this race last year. I still think he's a major player here. We know how his whole campaign has been centred around this race, Cider Burley. And to do what he did at Warwick, I thought was a really tremendous effort, really. So I'd certainly have him towards the top of my shortlist. I take on board what you say about Silver Sheen. I thought Robbie Power gave him a beautiful ride to win at Warwick that day. I think he's a major player. The one I can't get my head around is Relegate. Now, I understand that it's won the bumper under Katie Walsh a number of years ago. It's very well treated, etc., etc. But she doesn't jump very well. You know, she's nearly favoured for this race after everybody's jumped on the bandwagon. I've backed her a couple of times in big field handicaps around Leopardstown and stuff. She gets behind, she doesn't jump. She's not fluent at her hurdles. She doesn't travel up. She finishes off well, rattles home, but you know, one or two of these horses, they won't miss a beat on the way around.
I thought that about Cider Burley last year, and I feel the same about Relegate, but I sort of couldn't have him as fav. And then he, you know, even though he looked the whole race like he was going to get beat, he still got the job done. I'm confused by her current price, basically.
I thought Cider Burley's win last year was one of the performances of the festival. He just was blocked in, and he had to pass. He must have passed most of the horses to get up and win, and like. He'll be top weight in this because Ronald Pump is going to come out, but I think he has an unbelievable chance. I don't think that, what is it, he's 7 pounds, I think £7 or £4, whatever they raise, that won't make a difference.
Did they stick gear on? Am I making that up last time? Am I making that up?
No, he's won the cheap pieces ever since he won here. They put them on him first time when he won this race. Yeah, maybe they might check. They might think about changing, mightn't they? Put the visor on or something, just to liven him up a little bit.
He couldn't have had a worse run through last year, and he still got there. And he wasn't even driven out as much as he could have been. They were still a bit of protecting the mark. He's a fantastic chance in this.
Yeah, he's going to be well found, isn't he? Anything else for day 3, Thursday? Anyone?
Not really. Those the Kimmuir and the Brown Advisory Art races I've been through very thoroughly, so I'll sit those out at this moment in time.
I have one for the play, right, Tom? I'm just going to say Clondalk Castle. He won the last day very well in Warwick over 2.5 miles. Ran a grand race in the Arkle last year. Tom George is in decent form at the moment, and he's only got to keep him going for another week to get him in there. And if he can keep that going, I think he's a double figure price. I liking him for that now.
Like those, chucking those in. Backed him for the Arkle last year. Didn't happen. There you go. Day 4. It's a good day, this. Triumph Hurdle kicking things off. I'll kick off with a Goshen fan over here. Huge Goshen fan. Love the fact that Solo won. He was brilliant, and he probably should be fab. But it means that I don't think you're going to get a tumbling price on Goshen. And 5.5-ish, I'd be very happy with that about him. I hope I'm right there, Deasy. I think he's a brilliant horse. I think Gary Moore was really interesting when this horse won at Sandown on the second hurdle start, where he said, we're not going to go to Chepstow, it'll bottom him. I want to run him on trials day because I want to see if he's a Cheltenham horse, and he'll run in the Triumph. And he'll also win a big handicap on the flat as well. Now, I know they didn't go trials day, but I still like the fact he was talking that way. He pretty much thinks he's the best hurdler he's ever trained, and I think he's an aeroplane. I think he'll win the Triumph Hurdle. So even at the price he is currently, I wouldn't put you off getting involved. Very much option for me.
Are you worried about his jumping and the fact that he hangs a bit?
It's not ideal, and I don't necessarily think that you can say, well, in a better race where they go quicker, he'll be even better. I can sort of see why people might say that. I don't know that that's true, but you know, you can be an unfurnished sort of horse in this in the Triumph and still just be too good, and I think he is. I know All Mankind look very impressive, but I think he's less versatile than Goshen. And Solo, I don't, you know, Fujimoto Flower in that race, she is tricky, and I just think the form, he was possibly flattered. I know he was very impressive visually, but to do it once and be at the head of the market, I'd be keen to be on something in behind. And Goshen, I think he is so talented. He wouldn't be the sort of horse that I want to get involved with subsequently, but I just think the Triumph could be his race before he goes. And I think he's easily 100+ horse on the flat, and I just think the Triumph is his race personally. Yeah,
given the right conditions, he is probably 100+ horse on the flat. I'm just hopeful that he doesn't make some of those scruffy errors that he's got away with it in small fields and deep ground this winter, and he's going to have to really hurdle a little bit more slickly and effectively and efficiently here to keep up with the likes of All Mankind and Aspire Tower. Solo will be the travelly thing in behind, won't he? But didn't do anything great on the clock at Kempton. I know he's only had a canter round, but that'd be a little bit of a concern. And he was entitled to beat Fujimoto Flower in the manner that he did, and she gave plenty of problems down at the start again, and she was just looks an awkward conveyance. So I'm not sure what that form's particularly worth. Be interesting to see what JP runs in this race, because he does like one or two runners. And I think Wave of the Sea, very strong stayer. He'll be well suited by the rigours of the race and the fact that it's going to be run at a really strong gallop. He went off the boil a little bit, but there was a school of thought that he was perhaps just getting a bit overcooked. He'd just gone to the well a bit too much with him. So I think last time out, I'm not entirely certain whether that was his D-Day. I think he was just having perhaps a swing round with a view to, you know, maybe running in the Fred Winter. But look, it dropped in his lap. He managed to win, and he could well end up in this field. The one that really interests me is Psycho, a horse that I've had a good deal of time for, and you know, liked a lot in a couple of his runs. I mean, he was tremendously impressive at Exeter, set a world record speed figure there for the grade, and for what he managed to achieve that day. Went through the bottomless ground like it was, you know, he was skipping along on fast ground, to be honest. And then last time out at Haydock, I thought the French horse was just going to come and give him a little bit of a scare and a bit of a fright after the last, but he just ran away from it. If it's proper soft ground on the Friday, I think he's massively overpriced at double figures. I think he's the one horse from sort of 2 out, like a bit like Goshen, 2 out to the last, where there's that long run that's going to suit him down to the ground. All he does is gallop and grind and stay. And I think as that happens with Goshen, if he's there as well, between the 2 and the 1, I think he's going to be irresistible, and will take a good deal of beating. But I think Psycho has been a little bit sort of under the radar, a little bit underrated by 1 or 2. And maybe 1 or 2 people felt that he didn't beat a lot that day in the Victor Ladorum, but there's a couple in here that perhaps haven't beaten that much either, and they're sort of towards the head of the market. So I would respect his chance.
Yeah, so Psycho, and you'd imagine the price will hold up because the train's got Solo in there as well. Dees for the trial.
Yeah, very much. I have a strong opinion of this now, but very much with Sam and Sir Psycho. And another reason that I like him is that Nicholas is talking about Solo a lot. And last year he had a few talking horses like what a horse that won the bet for Hurley. Sorry, no, his name is gone.
Oh, Pictory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you had his horse Echo that nearly came like 60 to 100 to 1. Like, I think he's a sneaky one. I would if Cerberus has a jockey that will hold him up and likes to arrive late. If it's someone like Davy Russell now on him, I'd be very interested in, because I think he just got to the front too soon against Aspire Tower, and he just stopped running, and Wavesy picked him up. If he had someone on him that would just time it nice and just get there, like with Paul Carberry back in the day, if he could get him back, I'd be very interested in Cerberus. But not a race I'm hugely involved in just yet.
Okay, well, let's move on then to the Albert Bartlett. Yes, indeed, the potato race. A race which I always go down the experience route. You want experience to win this race, and you get a whole host of beaten horses in this, placed horses in this, who turn out to be the best of them, but they don't win it on the day because they haven't got the experience. Santini, for example, just picking one out there would be a prime sort of example. For that reason, I'm small on Redford Road on experience grounds, and the fact that he won the Grade 2 here in December, which has got a really strong history of producing winners. And I thought at round about 26.0, he was completely discounted. He dropped back in trip under a penalty last time, and I thought he ran all right. He went forward, and I didn't like that. I think he'd be ridden differently here. So him, I thought he was very interesting. Also, Ramesses de Thiel, who someone's just suggested, he also ticks that box, but I think he's well enough found in the market. But on experience grounds, those two for me. Sam?
Yeah, I understand the argument for Ramsey de Thiel. I missed the prices on him, really. He was sort of 33 and 40 before he won last time, and that looks a very fair price for a horse that's won round the track, stays well, gallops, and he's going to be ridden pretty handy. I mean, the rigours of this race and the conditions of it look absolutely tailor-made for him. Obviously, Time Hill is the pivotal horse. We don't know whether he's going to run here or in the Ballymore over shorter earlier on in the week. Shallow hurdle winners, I think, are 0 from 17 when they've come to novice hurdles at the Cheltenham Festival, which is a bit of a concern. It did for Champ last year, and a whole succession of horses have tried to win the Shallow and come here. I don't know why that is, but it's just the reason. Monkfish is a horse I've got a good deal of time for, and if you like Monkfish, you've got to like Deal Care, a horse of Noel Meads, who is sort of 14, 16 to 1, but we haven't seen him since November, and I don't know the reasons why. But he is a second season hurdler, so he has got experience. He's also a point winner, so he has been jumping for most of his life. He probably lacks a little bit of experience, which I would quite like for a race of this nature, as you alluded to, Tom. But he absolutely trounced Monkfish when they met back in November. I mean, it was tremendously impressive the way he moved through that race. 7 lengths was the winning margin at Fairyhouse on that inner track there, and he just ran away from him after the last. It was a really, really taking performance, and I've been waiting for him to come out ever since, really, in the intervening months, but we haven't seen him. But Noel Meads horses are in pretty good form at the moment, and I think it's a very interesting one that we haven't seen him. And if he does turn up here and he's fresh and well, and he's missed all that horrible ground all through the winter, and he comes here a fresh horse, he could be a very interesting one at a double-figure price.
And on that, Sam, there's a history of winners in this, weirdly, that goes against the sort of experience grounds, but that are freshened up. So you get quite a good record of second season novices often, but horses that have got experience. I know he's only had 3 goes, but haven't won that calendar year, or certainly since early January. So that I quite like. I looked him up there because he sort of hadn't really been massive in my radar because we haven't seen him. But I think I'd almost missed he was a second season novice. Yeah, can absolutely see that. Deasy.
I don't like this race at all. So I'm gonna keep this brief. I've 2 picked out this. You've mentioned one of them. This is based on just the ground. It mightn't be heavy or not, mightn't be soft by Friday, but I think Fury Road, if the ground was softer than good, I think he's a good old chance. I think that it was too short from the last day, but 3 miles, the 3 mile slog now be right up his alley. And Ramsey de Thiel as well. I took a bigger price at him there a few months ago, and I think, yeah, I think that he's one of my only anti-post bets that was actually a sure one, to be honest. And I think he's a great chance to this. Great chance.
If you want another anti-post bet, Deasy, I can sell you one. It's Footpad in the Ryanair.
Is it the American Ryanair he's running in? Is there one of the? He's over there now, isn't he? He was sold to the States to go.
Yeah.
Jumping over there.
Yours. All yours.
No, it's grand, Tom. I couldn't afford your stake size anyway, so.
Anything on the other Bartlett, lads, or should we move on to the Gold Cup?
Go Gold Cup, Tom.
Easy. Go on, Sam. I am unfortunately I'm a little bit fence city here. Go on.
Aren't you with Santini?
Not. I find it hard to argue he should be favourite.
Why is that?
I don't mind that he won what's traditionally a bad trial. No winner in 20 years of the Gold Cup had won the Cotswold Chase. No favourite had won it since I think '99, but he did. I thought he was massively impressive. He beat the right horse. I know he was getting weight, but I thought it was pretty cosy. And I'm a big fan of the horse, who still ran well and finished second in an RSA off a very unideal prep last year. I do think that against a horse that's won 2 Grade 1s this year in the form of Delta Work, and against last year's winner, it's hard to argue he should be favourite. Delta Work, just as much as Santini, I think, will appreciate the switch to the new course in comparison to his run in the RSA. So at the prices, I'd say Delta Work's a better bet. Those two for me probably, but I can't sit here and say Santini is the bet as favourite / favourite in the race. Personally, for all I think he's the most likely winner. I know that's sort of incongruous with what I'm saying, but I can't argue he's a good bet at the moment.
I mean, if they all go to post, it's a magnificent race, isn't it, this year? I mean, in past years, we've been looking, you find a couple of superstars in the race, and there's a couple of horses, you think, oh, he might make it. I mean, this is just littered. I mean, you've got good quality horses at 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1 here that, would certainly stack up as Gold Cup winners. The likes of Clanderzobo, Kenboy, Presenting Percy, sent off favourite for the race last year, Presenting Percy, as big as 10, 12, 14 to 1 this year. It looks a cracking renewal if they all go to post. I think Lost in Translation's the forgotten horse, one bad run and everyone's semi-dismissed him. I think I could easily see him bouncing back. I love Santini just as a model. I think he reminds me so much of Bobsworth in that he's just a grinder and he gets the job done. And everybody stepped away from that RSA Chase last year with Top of the Game and Santini and Delta Work and thought that's the best novice chase, staying novice chase we've seen for years. That the Gold Cup winner is going to come from that race, and it might well do, because it looked pants early on in the season when Top of the Game was ruled out and Santini scrambled home at Sandown and Delta Work was struggling to find his form. It didn't look worth the paper it was written on, but all of a sudden now it's produced the first and third favourite for the Gold Cup, and you think, well, yeah, it has got some substance after all. So I find them very difficult to split those two. And obviously Album Photo's done nothing wrong. He's had exactly the same prep as he had last year. He came here off the Tremor win last year and dotted up, was a very, very impressive winner, and he could easily do the same again this year. So I'll sit it out till I see what conditions are like. If the ground's dried significantly, I'll probably have a little bit of a bottle bet and back something like Clanderzobo each way, probably, because I think he will be a better horse this year. I'm not having it that he doesn't come up the hill. I think he's a stronger horse this year. He'll be ridden a little bit quieter, a little bit chillier, and I think he was probably in the heat of battle too soon last year. I think he's been trained differently. They haven't had the run in the Denman Chase. They've kept him fresh off the back of that King George performance, and say what you like about that form and the race just falling apart. Yes, it did, but he was undeniably very impressive, and he's a horse that I certainly wouldn't write off as a possible Gold Cup winner.
Given that they campaigned him purposefully differently last year, I thought it was really interesting when Nichols said on Luck on Sunday, we ran Courteau Star too close to the Gold Cup when he got beat that year, and then the next one straight from the King George. And they've done the same with Clanderzobo. He does jump a bit right, but I agree. I think he'll run better this year. He's half interesting, personally. Deasy, you got give us a stone cold bet for the Gold Cup.
Delta Work. Delta Work's course form has probably got the best form of the top 4 this year in terms of beating the horses he's beaten. He's beaten Kenboy, Presenting Percy. I think if he had been ridden a bit differently last year, he could have won that RSA as well. I think he's an incredibly improving horse, and I think that he'd be the only one I'd be interested in. Well, Lost in Translation as well, I'd give him a shout out, but I think Delta Work is solid, very solid.
Well, wouldn't you be interested in Monolly as well then, from the Savills Chase? The head separated them. One's 5 to 1, one's 25 to 1.
Yeah, I just don't fancy Manley over this kind of trip. I don't think Manley. I think Manley should be in the Ryanair. I don't think he's 3 mile. I just don't think that's. I think it was 2 years ago at Christmas he won a 3 mile race. I'm just going to bring it up here now at Leopardstown. I think in a while now.
I think
he just barely got there just by the skin of his teeth. He was completely all out. Like I think 3 miles is the limit of his abilities.
if you watched that race back last with Delta Work and you didn't know anything about the two horses and you saw Rachel Blackmore lose a stick and the horse still battled back up Delta Works inside, I agree you'd say those prices are wrong. But I just think given what we know about Mondeley, you go 3 mile, 2.5 round Cheltenham.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But I, to be honest, I didn't think he'd see out the 3 miles as well as he did that day. So, you know, just depends on conditions, doesn't it? I think the ground will have a massive impact on the race. And, you know, obviously that's the same for a lot of races. But I think especially this one. You know, good ground brings the likes of Clanderzobo into the race and nullifies one or two of the others, you know, as including Santini, who might be taking off his legs a little bit. But proper soft ground Friday, if it's rain during the week on the back of soft ground on a Tuesday, that really brings the mud lovers like Delta Work and Santini to the fore.
We're saying exactly the same thing as we did with Bobsworth, where you had Bobsworth, Sir Champ, and that was the Sir Deschamps wants the good, Bobsworth wants it more testing, and I think that is exactly the Santini angle. And it's interesting, none of us are putting up album photo last year's winner, but I still got winning 2 gold. I know he's had the right prep, but I mean, Corto Star couldn't win consecutive Gold Cups. I want to be against.
That's his only negative, is that he won the Gold Cup last year, which is
weird, isn't it? It's stupid. For me, that's his negative, that he won it last year. Well, I can't do
and bolted up, by the way, as well. Yeah. I wouldn't be laying him at 4.5 anyway, put it that way.
A JLP 2992. You've written in, I like this. You said, when has Santini been a mud lover, guys? I think that's a good point. I like that, and I know that Nicky Henderson says he wants ground, and he's absolutely not a mud lover. I'm not intending to say that. It's more the early part of the race where if good ground horses go a lick, I worry more about the start of the race than the finish, and that's why I wouldn't mind it just being a little bit on the easier side where I was coming from. Sam, do you want to add to that?
All I would say is that, I mean, the balance of his form was plenty of cut in the ground. He beat Blackop on Trials Day on the hurdle on ground, which are as bad as I've ever seen at Cheltenham. So I wouldn't say he's a mud lover, but he seems to cope very well with it, and he loves a stamina test. So I think on better ground, is he going to have the pace to lie up with 1 or 2, even over 3 1/4 here? It just adds a little bit of a question mark to his chance, that's all.
Shall we move on to any other bets?
Any other bets?
Micheál, Deasy, kick us off. Any other bets on you got a certainty for the Fox Hunters, Dees?
The only certainty is I probably won't watch it. I'll probably be standing outside a pub questioning my decisions for the whole week. I have 2, possibly 3 that I fancy for the Martin Pipe. I think they're all going to run here. So I think that day down in Tremor, the album photo went down for a run. Willie Mullen sent down 4 horses. 3 of them ran in the album photo race. And one other horse called Saint Roy, ROY, and he ran in the first race. Like if any of you know Tremor is like a greyhound, like they're always turning. And he won by 9 lengths. He very easily. He was entered in the Dublin Racing Festival, but didn't run, I think, because the ground was a bit too fast for him. But he's entered in 3 races. I think the Martin Pipe is his most likely one, and he's about 21.0 at the moment. Take a bit of that. And the Boss's Oscar is the other one as well, in that Gordon Elliott's horse. He finished second to Blue Sari in his first race, and the horse that came third that day was called Brinkley, who bolted up at the weekend, David Pipe horse. I think the Boss's Oscar might be one of these. Gordon Elliott usually has a good one in this every year, so I think he'll be another one I'll be backing on today. And Paloma Blue in the Grand Annual. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
All that. Love it. Sam?
Yeah, Paloma Blue, if it dries out a little bit, DC would be a really, really interesting conveyance for that race, wouldn't it? The Grand Annual. There's obviously bits and pieces. County Hurdle, I haven't really sort of got a firm opinion yet. I'll just pass on a good message that Nicky Henderson gave out on Sunday morning for a Jarley, ADJALI, I think, Simon Menier horse, Isaac Swade. He was quite sweet on that at a big price for the County Hurdle. I'll go to the Martin Pipe race. A horse that's finished 6 lengths behind Envoy Allen, was then a cosy winner, and last time out at Thurles in a Grade 3 was given quite a considerate ride, and that's Front View. If he gets in the race around about 10 or 11 to 1, I think I'd be very, very interested in him. Joseph O'Brien.
He could have got another few pounds, I'd say, from the handicap, or he was lucky with what he got.
Yeah, he got £1, didn't he? Which was like, they almost did too good a job, really. But I'd be very, very sweet on his chance of that. You know, obviously the same connections that won the race last year with Early Doors.
And I will give a couple of handicappers as well. Embittered in the county hurdle. I'm not sure it's where he's going to run. So apologies if he doesn't go there, but I love his profile for it. I think he's well treated. And What's Wrong With You for the Grand Annual. It's a weird old race where you get a history of horses that have been well fancied and not won it, and then they come back the next year and win it. Don't know why. It's an odd one like that, but it's happened. Happens a lot with second season chasers. And also it's a right old plot job race where if you've won a handicap en route, you pretty much don't win the Grand Annual. This horse has not been cited in 2 races. It's named after Nicky's dad. He's only got 2 entered in it. He was the fancied one for the race last year. He finished 6th. He's a massive price, and he's also entered in the plate, but Nicky's got a few in that, so I really like him. What's Wrong With You? He might not run. He's got a lovely profile for it. He's a massive old price. There you go. AOD, when are we done?
Just 1 point on Front View, that horse for the Martin Pipe. I think he's also in the Imperial Cup on Saturday, which would be interesting. So just keep an eye out whether he actually gets declared for that or not. He could come over on Saturday and perhaps try and do the double. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. You get a bonus for that, don't you?
You do. I think that's on offer again because Evan Williams was talking about it the other day, wasn't he?
Yeah.
They've no sponsors this year. I'm not too sure if those sponsors have taken up the bonus, but Matchbook sponsored the last 2 years, and we would have paid the bonus.
That's clutching at straws, isn't it? We sponsored it last year.
Yeah.
With the company Mandy's.
Swiftly moving on.
Look, up there on the wall behind me, boy. Let me live here.
Right. Best bets for the festival. Here we go. Best bets for the 2020 Cheltenham Festival. I'll kick us off if I can with Discorama. In a handicap, I know. Lovely profile of the race. Out for it. Ran over hurdles last time. It's a lovely old prep. Keep the blinkers on. Fine. Great festival record. Basically, he's won it already. Sam Turner.
Right. Rather less original than you, Tom. A Plutard in the Ryanair on Thursday.
And Micheál Deasy, festival best bet.
The Mayor's Double on the first day. Epitant and Benny de Dieu.
Ooh, I like
Not just content with putting one winner up. He has to put 2 up, doesn't he?
I put one winner up there on the week, so I think Mr. Fisher in the Marsh. Fancy the arse of him.
So not content with having one best bet, he's got 2.
3.
He's greedy, Deasy, you are.
We've recently added multiple bets to Matchbook, so I have to be pushing the doubles and the trebles and the luck.
Company man.
I love it. Right. Good stuff. If you bought an hour, well done. We're on an hour 38. It's a certainty.
There weren't many sellers, Tom, to be honest.
Certainty. That is our Cheltenham Festival preview for 2020. Just 3 normal lads talking about the racing. That's it. That's where we stand. Sam Turner, thank you very much indeed. Good luck at this year's festival.
Cheers, Tom. Enjoyed it. Thank you, boys.
Peace. Go well. A pleasure as always.
Thank you, Tom. Enjoy the skiing.
Thank you very much indeed. Going to be hitting those slopes tomorrow.
You on holiday again, Stanley?
This is the first of the year. Unbelievable, Shao.
Rest of the month.
I'm genuinely. I'm sat here in the long johns. Right, enjoy. That's an image I don't want to be left with.
No.
Happy Cheltenham Festival 2020, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Keep your comments coming in and keep watching it as this goes out on repeats, building up to the festival. And we'll have pods throughout the festival as well, previewing each day. Looking forward to that. Thank you again. Bye-bye for now.